So, I promised you guys a video on power stropping, and that's coming. Unfortunately, today just wasn't the day. I had planned to film that outside because my basement is an absolute mess and the lighting is really terrible down there. But it's rained all day long, and I just don't feel like dragging all this stuff out there and dealing with that. So, I'm going to drop back and punt and do something a little different today. We're going to create one of these pierced beard old world Santa ornaments. For those of you who are on the Wood Carving Academy, you might recognize a lot of the information here is cribbed from the great video series by Mark Gargak on there. If you're not familiar with Mark, highly recommend you looking him up. He is an incredible wood carver and realistic wood faces. And he does a great job with these old world type Santas. I learned a ton from that video. Highly recommend you signing up for Wood Carving Academy and checking it out yourself. I'm going to show you my version of it today. So stick around and we'll get cranking on this thing. All right, so for for the basics here, we're going to be carving this guy out of a 2" by 2" by 6" corner block. I like the extra length here. It allows me to play around with the beard quite a bit, get some more detail in that area. Basically, a lot of the initial setup for this is kind of repetitive, so I'm going to kind of tell you what the process is and then probably fast forward through the biggest part of it just so this video doesn't take forever. We're going to start by kind of laying out the our hat, and I'm going to come down 1.5 inches-ish. This one here is probably a little bit taller, but I want more beard on this guy. I'm just gonna kind of roughly sketch in that outline, and then I'm gonna come, we'll say about right there. That's, I don't know, a couple inches. And I might actually I'm going to sweep this beard over to the side a little bit. And for this, just use whatever type of knife you want. Heavy rough out knife works best. Oh, I forgot I can show you guys this awesome new knife I got from Badger State Blades. They just released this profile recently called the Clipper. Really like this knife. A little bit thinner grind than what they usually do, but it has enough meat near the base to be nice and tough, nice and strong, but with a nice, a good point on it. I can do a lot with just one knife, and I'm that type of carver. I don't like switching knives for every third cut. Like, I want a knife that covers most all of my bases. Do the same thing for the beard here. We'll leave most of that for the time being until I decide how far I want to take that. So then I'm going to, if you look at the profile of this guy, you can see that I'm pushing the top of the hat and the bottom of the beard forward quite a bit. And for that, you can use a knife, but I'm gonna clue you in on another great offering by Badger State here. This is their this is a 1-inch what they call their eraser. If you look, it is if on the website is listed as a #1 grind. It's really completely flat, and I ordered mine with this bullnose grind, meaning that I can really let this thing slide through the wood. The wings don't catch on anything, and for roughing out pieces, especially larger pieces, this is a lot easier on my hands than a knife is. I've gotten to where I use this thing more and more to get myself to that final shape. And I want to get this fairly thin here. We're going to actually hollow the backside out. The more wood I can get off of here, the easier that's going to be. That's one handy thing about this tool. I can set the piece down and use it almost like a big stock knife and just really let the wood chips fly off. If you are interested in one of these or any of the Badger State offerings, I am happy to let you know that I have a discount code for them that I can share with you. It's just Jonathan, Jonathan, and the number 10. You put that code in, check out, and get yourself 10% off. Now this is not an affiliate code or anything. I don't get any kind of kickback or reimbursement from this. I am just a big believer in their tools, and want to support them, get the word out. Ashton has been very generous in sharing new tools and concepts with me. I did on that eraser. I mean, I paid for that myself, so that's not. I'm not doing this as any kind of product placement or anything. Just letting you know that I really, really like that tool, and I think you will too. Okay, so we've got our basic shape laid out. Now the next step is we want to hollow out the back of this thing. The reason for that is the less wood we have to cut through here on this beard, the easier that's going to be. So on the beard especially, I want to get that fairly thin through there. It does make it a little more delicate, but there's still enough meat in there that is really not anything you need to be worried about. Any gouge will get the job done, give it enough time. But I do have this big honking number 9 sweep here that makes pretty short work of it. I want to dig into this, probably cut all this part out because you guys don't want to sit and watch me do this for several minutes. But I'll be back here shortly, and we'll get to work. Okay, we're back, finishing up, getting this thing hauled out. I don't know how much you can tell. I removed a good bit out of there. Still plenty enough wood to be, not super delicate. It's not nowhere near eggshell thin. And of course, I've got a good bit of wood to remove off of here. So I'm gonna leave that be for the time being. And we'll move along in the process. I'm gonna figure, I want the tassel for his hat probably to be somewhere right about here. That hat's gonna come up, or the fold gonna come up about like that. So I'm just gonna give myself a little indication right there, just something to reference back to. And I'm gonna come right here and I'm just gonna do a stop cut and a relief cut right in that area. And this bottom side I can push back a fair bit. We'll go with that. And then somewhere right down in here, we're going to do the same thing for his chin. Well, that's a good start. Now let's figure out where that hat's going to sit on his head. I'm just going to trim this side up just a bit. And we can grab our V-tool. And while I'm here with this tool, I'm going to go ahead and put an indication for that fold in there. Really and truly, that's not going to be the end all be all. I don't generally use just a V-tool for marking like this, but it was handy. Now I need to get that face tucked up underneath the hat. For those of you who like the fantasy stuff, like wizards, this could easily be adapted into a wizard character. Really wouldn't be much to it other than maybe changing expression. And I don't like straight lines on the hat. I want that thing to be kind of flowy, wrinkled. So I'm going to throw a couple of those in as well on the sides. And then we want the hair to go under the hat. Something like that for now. Okay. So this is going to be our center line, our eye line, and I like to give these guys big bushy eyebrows. So I'm going to leave plenty of room for that. I'm going to bring the eye line probably right about there, and it'd be helpful if I got those at all even. And I'm going to say the bottom of the nose be about right there. So I can flatten that off and actually push that wood back just a little bit more. Nose, stop cut and relief cut on the bottom. I'm not going to go too deep with that yet because I want to leave plenty of wood there for a big bushy mustache. I'm going to come to either side. we're going to leave the bottom flat, and then on either side for the wings, we're going to go, about like that, and do our M cut. I've referenced this a few times. If you read Marv Kaisersat's book on carving caricature heads, that's what he calls it. So that's what I reference it as well. Basically, we're just making the shape of the letter M on the bottom of that nose, and that's going to give us the bottom of the nose there. And for these guys, I don't, typically if I'm doing a, well, here's one I'm working on. So this is more of your classic Coca-Cola style Santa. I'll make a very, very short bridge on that nose. It's kind of bright. See if I can tone that down for you guys just a little bit. Maybe that's better. Make a very short bridge. I want the eye sitting very low on the nose. For these guys, I'll make the nose a fair bit longer. And maybe not as round. I'm gonna lay the nose back, leaving plenty of wood up top for a brow ridge. And then I'm going to outline his face. So let's get our center line back in. You don't necessarily need a pair of dividers. I do find them helpful in a lot of ways. Just for quick markup. I'm gonna bring that hair down, and as always with hair, no straight lines. We'll do something like that. For this, I just use a knife, but I like to, here on the edge, go ahead and take the corner out there. Make that one just a tad deeper. We'll pop that out like that. And then I'm going to just follow my line with a stock cut. When it's to get to the edge, be real careful. Don't just yank on it, because that'll fly out and you don't really know where that knife tip's going then. So slow down and do that carefully. And I'm gonna undercut it, kind of pointing that knife tip away from the face so that I allow that hair to go over the face there. Do the same thing on this side. Just follow our line. And then we'll relieve underneath that and push that face back behind that hair. And that's, I'm gonna go a good bit deeper with that because I want, a heavy shadow right there. But don't go too deep on that first go round. See what you got, and then you can adjust. Clean that corner out a bit. We'll do the same thing on this side. I just want to get some more depth under there. There we go. All right, right, so we're gonna get a fair bit of depth there. Just kind of outline that face. Throw a good shadow in there. This is something I've touched on in a couple of videos. Actually, probably all of my videos, but those shadows are what really make a carving stand out. And you get those by making bold, confident cuts. Don't be timid and try to sneak up on it. I'm not saying you won't ever get there, but I promise you, you'll like the results a lot better if you just go for it. All right, so we're gonna put our eye line back in about right there, and we're going to say the wings of that nose are going to be about like so. And I'm gonna have that mustache, and since the beard's flowing this way, I wanna push the mustache over that way as well. Actually, let's bring that out just a bit more. There we go. We can take our V tool and outline that. I think it was Saturday this past weekend. I went to use this V tool and I noticed I had a nasty split right in the valley, and it ain't no wonder it was leaving lines every time I tried to use it. It was aggravating, and I had to work on this thing for, I don't know, probably 2 hours to get it back in good shape. The beard is going to come, the beard does not attach right here at the corner of the nose. The beard's going to attach down on the mustache, something about like that. And just kind of eyeball it. It looks pretty close to even. And we can lay that in with our V-gouge as well. And these guys I treat a little different than normal Santas. Like I said, we're not doing the Coca-Cola type Santa here. We don't need the big round puffy cheeks. So we can actually push those down behind that beard just a little bit. Do the same thing on this side. Just a little sliver there. Clean that up. All right, then we know that eye line's going to be about right there. This is a cut that I like to make on to shape the bridge of the nose. If you watch, it's just a very subtle roll cut up to that brow ridge. And what that's going to do is help lay those cheeks back and make the bridge of that nose a little more prominent. Well, that might not be too bad. I might raise that up just a touch more. There we go. Then we'll grab, this is a 3/8 inch, number 9. And we'll use it to shape that brow, or excuse me, shape the bridge of that nose up a little bit more. And I can actually kind of shape the nose as well. And carve in that eye channel. Like so. All right. So let's finish shaping that nose up now. I'm going to go right here to the side. I want to make sure that knife tip is pointed away from the tip of the nose. I'm just going to do a plunge cut right there. And then we're going to take that little sliver out beside it. And clean all this mess up. Do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to plunge right there. Make sure that knife tip is pointed away from the tip of the nose. And we're going to take away that little sliver right there. And clean all that up. And we may actually go back and make that a little bit deeper, just for extra shadow there. And then we're going to come right around the top of that wing. And just take out a tiny little sliver right there. The same thing on the other side, but I'm going to go from the opposite direction because I'm right-handed. And we'll just take out that little sliver. Like so. And at this point, you can kind of gauge whether nose is fairly even or not. If you need to trim up either side to make it match. Clean that up. And then one thing I like to do is come right about here. I'm going to take the tip of that knife and just do a tiny little roll cut. Right there. Do the same thing on this side. We'll just do a tiny little roll cut. And shape all that up. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom here. Just take a little roll cut right there. And a little roll cut on this side. Getting things as even-ish as possible. I'm not done with the nostrils or anything yet. That kind of helps set them up for me. A little bit want to hang out in there. I need to clean out. There we go. And I'm going to just kind of smooth the cheeks off some more. Get rid of any hard lines I've got on them. And that'll also help push that nose forward a little bit more. So checking the profile, that's what we're looking like. See, this eye channel here is not quite shaped the same. There we go. All right, so for our eyes, I'm going to divide it into quadrants here. And one thing I might do on this one, you might get to watch me fail spectacularly. We'll see. Don't know if any of you are familiar with Trent Humphreys. He's an amazing carver. He power carves in a lot of found wood. And he just posted a wood spirit recently, within the last day or so, that was just amazing. And one thing that he had was like the heavy hooded top eyelid. And I actually made the comment to him at the time when I saw it that that's something I have not figured out, but we're gonna try to today. So this is completely unplanned. We'll see how it goes. But I know one thing for sure: I need to get depth on either side of the bridge of that nose, right here. So let's take our 4mm Dockyard, and we're just going to. I don't want to get in too tight on that just yet. We're going to get some depth right there. Do the same thing on the other side. Get some depth. Like that. And this guy's gonna have some pretty heavy bags under his eyes. So let's kind of shape those out. I'm actually gonna bring them almost all the way down to the wings of the nose here. We'll use that same tool and just outline those. I want some weight to those bags. This is going to be kind of a mix between a wood spirit and a Santa. I don't know. We'll see how I like it. It may go in the burn pit. Who knows? Try to get those top eye, or the top of the eyes there, symmetrical-ish. Raise this one up just a touch more. All right, so I'm gonna take a tiny little slice out right there. That's one thing I like about this knife. That tip is super fine. I can get right in there, remove that wood with ease. Do the same thing on this side. Take a tiny little sliver out right like that. And the bottom of these eyes, we'll say about right here. That looks fairly even. Do the same thing, just take that little sliver out. Now, I talked about my three-point eye. This is one again I picked up from buddy Alan Goodman, who is a great carver. Does amazing wood spirits. Matter of fact, he's got a class coming up at the barn in Maiden, North Carolina, here in the next couple of weeks. So if you're anywhere in the area and you're interested in learning how to carve a wood spirit from one of the best, look up the Barn Wood Carving Group on Facebook. Promise you, you'll have a good time, and if you don't learn something, it's your own fault. So we're going to do 2 plunge cuts. We're going to take out or do a line between the two right there along the side of the bridge of the nose, and we're going to take out that little chip right there. That's going to help round that eye over. And we're going to come to this outside corner. We're going to do our 3-cut chip right here. Same thing on this side. And we smooth that eyeball off. This is one of the areas where having a nice thin blade and a fine tip is super handy, because the smoother you can make these eyeballs, the easier they're going to be to finish and paint if you go that route. And even if you don't paint, if you choose to leave them natural, I mean, our eyes are smooth and glossy. So if you take time to really get that smoothness taken care of, it makes a better finished product. All right. Now I'm going to grab this is a little flex cut micro U-gouge. I'm just going to come kind of give a hint of an upper eyelid on either side, right about there. Just enough to put a little bit of a shadow right there. Not going super deep. And then I'm gonna come right here on the outside, do something similar. remove a little bit of wood out from underneath those bags. Because like I said, I want those to have some weight to them. And we're going to outline those a little bit more. And tuck the corner of this lower eyelid underneath the upper eyelid. Gives you a little shadow, and that's the way our eyelids are formed. The lower one goes underneath the upper one. I'm gonna shape up his eyebrows just a bit. All I'm doing is kind of rounding, doing a little bit of almost a quasi roll cut back to make those eyebrows stand out a little bit more. And this is a thin hat. I don't need a ton of material up here, so we can kind of clean all that off. Round over the top of that mustache just a little bit. Now let's finish shaping that mustache off. We'll say something like that. Let me look at it. Yeah, it's not bad. Right here on this corner, I'm going to get some decent depth with that little chip cut right there. And then I can kind of move some of that wood up to it. Do the same thing on this side. Took that chip cut out. And we'll remove a fair bit of wood under here as well. And one thing I like to do on these, I'm gonna grab and find it. This is my big 5/8 number 9. I'm just gonna smooth off his chin a little bit, so it's not quite as hard a transition. Like so. And then we can take our 4mm dock yard, and we can split those eyebrows. All right, let's move on to the beard. That's what you, what I promised you, right? So we know we're gonna have a flow pattern kind of going this direction. Something like so. So I'm gonna come around and just go ahead and notch the outside here. And I'm gonna, you know, make fairly decent sized notches there. Right here is still a little beefy, so I'm actually going to use my knife and thin that edge down just a little bit. Actually, that one there, I'm just going to use my B tool and punch that out. And then we can clean it up with a knife. That'll work for now. All right. So one of the very first videos I put up on YouTube was about carving a really funky beard style that I like to do from time to time. This is going to be very, very similar. It's just going to be more. We're going to just follow those lines with our knife. This is somewhere you want to get a good bit of depth here, okay? And we'll grab right there. This one will come from the opposite direction just because it's easier for me to hold where you guys can see. When it comes to carving hair of any type, the basic rule is, for me, is no straight lines, especially on a long flowy beard like this. Maybe I'm biased because I have a extremely curly beard, but I don't like the looks personally of a stick straight beard. I want that thing to flow and have some life of its own. All right, so now let's figure out where we're going to put our piercings. So if we're going to envision the jawline coming somewhere right in here, let's say we want to put one right there. Basically, all I'm going to do is take some fairly deep cuts until I notice the knife pop through on the back side. So be mindful of where your hand's at. I don't know if you can tell, but the knife tip just started to pop through right there. I don't know how much you can tell. We got a little bit of daylight through there, but there's not a lot yet. So now we're going to come on the back side. We're going to figure out kind of which direction that cut's going. And we're going to clean that out. Getting in these corners is kind of a pain. You can always take a small gouge or something and clean a lot of that out if necessary. But by the time we get done doing the rest of the beard, a lot of that would take care of itself. So there's one. Let's go over on the other side and pop another one in. We'll come up just a little bit on this one. So right about there, got that first cut deep enough that I've already popped through. We'll make this one just a touch bigger, maybe. And then come on the back side and clean that up. And trying to think of where I can maybe put one more, because I think even numbers are boring. Let's maybe pop one in, even if it's not a. Well, we'll see if we can get it to close back up. Something right about there. That's actually got a little bit too much meat left in it. I'm just going to gouge out the back side of that just a touch more. You can already see the knife scar poking through by taking out that little bit. So now we got to be careful, because we don't have a whole lot of wood left there on the edge. Let's clean that out. See what we're left with. How's that? There we go. And you can even let's do a little something with this hair as well. So let's put a split on either side. And if you wanted to, you could put a piercing somewhere in here. Be mindful of where that face is going to be underneath that hair. You don't really want to put it in an unnatural area, but somewhere where the hair is flowing away from that face. it wouldn't look out of place at all. Now let's clean that out. There we go. And we won't do one on this side just because we've got that tassel in the way. And that gave me an even number, which I like to avoid on details, but you know, it is what it is. Get a little bit more shadow right there on the side of the face. Take out that little chip. And that'll kind of round his cheeks over a little bit more as well. All right. Clean that up. So now, doing the rest of the beard is basically the same as I always do. I'm probably going to fast forward through this bit. If you haven't seen me carve a beard before, basically all I'm going to do is take this soft V, and I'm going to make make a random pattern all throughout. So this will be a little bit faster. I won't talk my way through this process. I've got plenty of other videos to reference if you hadn't seen me do this, but I need to move along. So here we go. Okay, now that I got that done, I like to go back in and kind of clean out some of these areas. Just anywhere you see some wood wanting to hang on, little hangnails as I like to call them. Clean all that out. Leave ourselves with a good surface to paint. A couple more details, and we'll call this guy a wrap. I'm going to take this little fine Dockyard. This is a 1.5 millimeter. I'm going to throw some wrinkles in these bags. have to be careful using these little small tools. If you try to go too deep, those wings will catch, split the wood off on you. And we can also throw a few wrinkles in here on the sides of his face, some crow's feet. And let's get the tassel taken care of. I'm just going to carve a little knot above it. You can use whatever tool you want. Since the wood's kind of fine right there, I'm not going to use a knife. I'm just going to round that off, and of course, you know, a little tassel. Put some detail in there. And the last thing I like to do is just give that hat some extra interest. So I'm going to take my wide 5/8 gouge. I'm just going to make that fabric look like it's folded. It's getting kind of wrinkly. You can also, well, one thing I do need to do is get some more depth right there. And I also like to just throw in a couple of deep cuts just to make it look like that fabric of that hat is folded over. Again, shadows everywhere. Put those shadows in your carvings. You won't be sorry. And we'll just kind of continue on around with this gouge. Try not to leave any flat spots anywhere. Anything that makes it look like a machine cut. And there you have it. That's it for this guy. So next step, of course, be boil linseed oil and paint. So as always, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me. I say guys, colloquially, that is a hard word. Colloquially, I can't even say it now. Anyways, guys and gals, ladies too, I really appreciate all the support. If you would, I would, as always, appreciate you you performing your social media ritual of liking and subscribing. Ring that bell for updates. I'm going to continue to try to put out a video per week for as long as I can. Next time, weather permitting, we'll get back to our sharpening series, and I'll go over my power sharpening setup with you all. So tune in for that. But until then, keep on carving. Enjoy the process. Remember, this is a journey. You may not be turning out pieces you're happy with at this point. I mean, be quite honest with you, I'm not. I've got so much room for growth left to go, and I'm going to continue to enjoy making the chips in the meantime, and hopefully learn something along the way. So keep carving, keep your knife in the wood, and enjoy it. Until next time, bye.